What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome into CHGO Bulls Postgame. Coming to you live from our studios here in West Loop, downtown Chicago. I'm Peck, Bulls_Peck, joined by our new teammate, Will Perdue. Will_Perdue32. Big day still in London. He'll be back soon. We will hear from Will Gottlieb from Fiserv Forum. He went and did the short road trip up to Bulls Bucks tonight. Shout out. We've got Katie Dovey on the controls. Who needs a shadowing pre and post? Who needs training today? No, she's just rocking it. We got our guy, GM Jake Flanagan, hanging out as well with the late night crew. Bulls fall to the Bucks. 111-107 is the final. Thanks for joining us. Hit that like button if you're hanging out on YouTube. Mr. Perdue, we talked in pregame about how we were going to see a lot of the Bulls youth movement tonight. Billy held out his entire starting five, save Josh Giddey. And we were talking in pregame about what we liked from Giddey, especially in that game Saturday night. Had that classic Giddey stat line filling up the box score. What was it about tonight's game when it comes to lots of minutes for the youth that grabbed your attention the most?
I mean, I didn't want to talk to you prior to us doing the post game because I wanted to drop this on you.
Okay, you're going to drop something on me?
I've seen 3 games now.
Okay.
And please, people, it's the preseason.
It's the preseason.
But that being said, I'm going to ask you right now.
Okay.
How many teams make it into the postseason?
The actual playoffs, 16, 8 and 8.
Right. But in each conference,
8 per conference.
How many make it in play-in?
10.
Okay. At the present moment, tell me the 10 best teams in the Eastern Conference.
10 best teams in the East?
Yes.
You want me to just rattle this off right now?
I just said.
Okay. Well, so
this is called content.
Boston. Okay, here we go. Boston.
I mean, we want to talk about the game, but we really don't want to talk about the game.
Hey, man. I mean, preseason action. Matas Buzelis.
I know we're getting
Adama Sanogo.
We're getting to that.
We'll get to that. Okay, here you go. East, top 10, Boston, New York, Philly, Cleveland.
We just watched the one of them.
Milwaukee. Did I say Milwaukee yet?
You just did.
Okay. Then you got probably Orlando, Indiana.
That's 7.
Did I say Miami already? I said Miami already.
Miami makes 8.
Miami's 8. Okay.
Stop right there.
Okay.
Now, here's the next question. Atlanta, Charlotte, Detroit, Brooklyn, Toronto, Washington. Are any of those teams, could you right now go to Vegas and bet that any of those teams are going to finish higher than the Bulls?
Well, yeah, I can go to Vegas and bet anything. Are you asking me how confident I would be in that bet?
That is correct.
I could semi-confidently bet that Atlanta can manage a better record than the Bulls this year.
Okay, but then that makes how many teams?
That would be 9.
Okay. So when you talk about the 2 play-in games.
Maybe Charlotte, if they stay healthy. Maybe Charlotte. For the love of God, please, Charlotte, stay healthy.
But they seem to have been bitten by the injury bug more so than the Bulls.
It's a hard test.
Okay. But I'm basically saying, what did I think about this young group of guys?
Yeah.
I think there's a possibility that we could be in trouble.
Could be in trouble in which direction? Protecting a top 10 draft pick?
Bingo.
Really? You're saying that based off of what we've seen in these 3 preseason games.
Now, a lot of this has to do with what I see on paper, but prior to tonight's injury with the rib contusion, is that correct?
Julian Phillips, rib contusion, did not return.
Have you already not seen significant improvement over the last season?
With Julian specifically?
Yes.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Confidently knocking down corner threes.
Most notably what? It's 3-point shot.
3-point shot, and he's active on the glass.
And what did you see tonight? Okay, tonight 2 of 6.
Yep.
But what is that? That's
33%.
Exactly, right? And it's basically if you can shoot 33% or more, it's advantageous to launch them.
Yeah.
All right? And I think that this is where now we did not give this Josh Giddey trade enough credit. Because as these guys learn how to play with him, like tonight, you look at Giddey's numbers. This isn't 22 minutes. Okay?
Okay.
And remember, Milwaukee had a lot of starters out there.
They did.
A lot of guys in their normal rotation.
Giannis, Lopez, and Dame all played into the third quarter.
But at the same time, you still had Portis coming off the bench.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they played their team.
Okay. 12 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, and a block. He's now had 5 blocks.
That's 5 blocks in 3 preseason games for Giddey. Yeah.
Now I know people sitting at home, you're like, man, you're reaching. I understand that, but we all know that the great equalizer is health, the ability to stay healthy and avoid injuries.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's never really been the Bulls' strong suit.
I know that, but think about this. Guys that we know we can count on. Kobe.
Mm-hmm.
Io.
Yep.
Now Giddey.
Yep.
I think the improvement of Phillips.
Yep.
We'll get to talk about Matas.
Mm-hmm.
But let's just be honest here for a second. If Zach is healthy.
Certainly looked like it on Saturday night.
Yes. Now, we need that to be consistent. We don't know if that can happen. But if Zach is healthy and they are doing what to try to help improve his trade status?
Make him look like a winning player.
But basically playing to his strengths.
Yeah.
So he can have a lot of those games like he had last night. And I know, I'm gonna say this. His contract is almost untradeable. But I think that you see a team like the Milwaukee Bucks can attest to this, okay? The Golden State Warriors, the Los Angeles Lakers, they know how small that window is to not necessarily win a championship, but to have even the opportunity. So if they see they have that opportunity, most of these teams that we're talking about, to keep their players happy, like younger guys that are still playing, like Milwaukee, for example, Giannis will not hesitate to say that I'm looking elsewhere because things aren't going well in Milwaukee.
He was starting to say things like that before they made the Dame trade.
Right. But if somebody gets hurt and some team needs a capable scorer as their third or fourth guy, Zach fits that mold perfectly.
Yeah.
And they'd be willing to go in to be able to capitalize on that window of opportunity.
Yes.
Because, shall we talk about the Clippers? We're not really sure that ever was an opportunity, but they spent money trying to make it an opportunity.
Yeah. Steve Ballmer's always willing to spend more money if he thinks it will increase his team's odds of competing for championships.
But I think that at the end of the day, there's a possibility. I do know that there are teams keeping an eye on Zach LaVine. Now, listen, that would be the in case of emergency break glass, make trade.
Yeah.
But that's a possibility. But that goes back to now, basically your starting lineup is Kobe, Zach, Giddey, Vooch. Vooch is a double-double, whether you like him or not, he is. Okay?
Yeah.
And 80% of Bulls fans don't like him.
Yeah, I'd say that's accurate.
But he puts up numbers. And then you can say P. Will. You can say, we don't know. We can talk about that later. I think you've already thrown your hat twice.
Yes. I threw my hat twice on Saturday about Patrick.
We don't need to do that tonight. But I'm just talking about and I understand, again, it's preseason, okay?
Yeah.
But I think we can all say already that Matas is more than what we thought because his numbers in the G League last year were not impressive. They didn't jump off the page.
No. Very pedestrian numbers.
I think with the G League Ignite. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But I love the confidence that he plays with. I love the chip that he plays with on his shoulder. He doesn't play afraid. Part of it is because he just doesn't know better. And part of it is because of young ignorance.
Yeah.
He'll learn.
Yeah.
And he'll learn. But I just think that, and quite honestly, there's no pressure on this team. Absolutely none. So every game, that's the one thing they have up above their opponent. There's no pressure.
Yeah.
So when they play Boston, Milwaukee, those teams we just listed, Boston, New York, Philly, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Orlando, the Pacers, the Heat, there's no pressure.
Yeah. Especially if they're the pressure is just continuing to convince coach that I deserve to be out there getting minutes on a nightly basis. But clearly, I think that was probably my biggest takeaway from tonight's game. Yeah, I did like what we saw from Giddey. Credit to him. I was bashing his three-point shooting in pregame. Then he goes out there and he knocks down 3 of 4. Kudos. Would love to see more of that for this team that desperately needs, floor spacing. They caught fire in back end of the first quarter and then second quarter, and then third quarter, I think the Bulls were 0 of 13 from 3.
And I think we're gonna see. Listen, also what we've seen in the preseason is a script for what we're going to see in the regular season. Let's not say, hey, next Wednesday when they're down in New Orleans, things are going to change. I don't think I think it's going to be pretty much the same. But
I think in New Orleans, I think Zach, Kobe, and Vooch will be in the starting lineup as opposed to tonight.
In that sense, yes.
Yeah.
But I think that what we can all agree on is there's some weaknesses that have not changed.
Yes.
3-point shooting.
Yes.
Defense.
Yes.
But there are some things that we can sit here and say, now, potential is what gets people fired in this league.
Okay.
But I think we can say that when they mentioned the word reshaping, we were like, oh, my. And I understand that, what is Vegas, 27.5, 28.5?
Yeah, it's been fluctuating between 27 and 28.5, yeah.
I think that because of the Eastern Conference and those other teams that we've discussed, not the ones above them, but the ones at their level.
Yeah.
There's a possibility.
The Brooklyns, the Charlottes, the Detroits of the conference.
Right. Now, remember, only 4 teams get the maximum, is it 11%?
The worst 3 teams get the same 14% if you're talking about the lottery.
And the Bulls will not be the 3 worst teams.
But they might be, Will. We can still root for that, can't we?
No, they might be, but they won't.
I think you're right. I do think that the Bulls will not have one of the 3 worst records in the NBA this season.
I think we're better off
between
now.
A couple of teams in the West that are, either aggressively tanking or kind of tanking, and then all of the teams in the East that are, the bottom of the barrel in the East. I think it would surprise me if they had one of the 3 worst records.
Yeah. Well, if they have one of the best one of the worst 3 records, it was. You would say that there's a puppet master somewhere.
Some teams in this league are better at secretly tanking than others. I do not give the Bulls.
Okay, but they're not tanking; they're reshaping.
Right. No, they've never said the word. They've never said the dreaded T word. Of course not.
But I just think that when you look at this team, and again, potential.
And in the meantime, we can enjoy watching things like Matas Buzelis throw down a poster dunk on Giannis for an and one.
Right.
And my God, was that a lot of fun to watch. Speaking of which, let's put a pin in that thought. We'll come back, talk more about Matas and the rest of this young Bulls crew on the other side of this break here, CHGO Bulls. Today's show brought to you by Circa Sportsbook. Football is back, y'all. Thank goodness. We had Monday Night Football on the side TV while we were watching Bulls Bucks. Whether it's pro or college, the app to bet football is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports, it's sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. You can bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Spreads, props, futures, even in-game betting, Circa Sports has it all. Fun and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in this great state of Illinois. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 and over. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Oh, yeah, that just reminded me.
What's that?
I got to make sure that before I sign my contract that Jake puts in there that I'm going on that trip to Vegas next year.
Summer League? Oh, we're absolutely stealing Uncle Will and bringing you to Summer League. You can break that to your wife and the puppy and any other people who might object to that however you want, but you're coming with us to Vegas.
No, my wife will be, I'll carry your bags.
Oh, shit.
Because my wife actually has a flight to Vegas in the morning tomorrow.
Oh, really? Okay. So then that definitely means you're due Vegas time. It's your turn after she goes.
That's right.
And I like it. You get your Vegas time and then come back, and then I'll go and I'll get my Vegas time. Love it. Well, hey, man, there's a lot of sports teams in the city of Las Vegas all of a sudden. If you're out in Vegas and want to catch a game, WNBA, NHL, soon they'll have an MLB team. The place you need to get those tickets is Game Time. You've got to check out this new Game Time Picks feature. It filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. You also should check out the all-in pricing feature on Game Time. Toggling on the all-in pricing shows the total up front before you start the checkout process, so you don't have any surprise fees as you move through those checkouts. You also, of course, have the great seat views option available to you at Game Time, a panoramic view from your exact specific seat in that ballpark or stadium in the app before you buy. Game Time ticket coverage also means your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the entire ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download Game Time app, create an account, use promo code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem $20 off with promo code CHGO, $20 off. Download Game Time today because Will Perdue, what time is it?
Game time?
Who? God, I love that I got to do that with Will Perdue just now. How cool is that?
I'm just glad I was paying attention.
Did you ever want to be the I get to say what time is it guy in that pregame huddle?
No.
It was it Livingston who usually did it for you guys?
That is correct.
Okay.
Cliffy.
I mean, he was real good at it.
Oof, very good at it.
You didn't if it were me, if I were a part of that team, I would be like, yo, I want dibs on being the one who says what time is it.
So, no, I get it, but it was reserved for him.
Was that like a team vote thing? Like, how did that go down?
No, I think he just bullied his way.
It's like, I'm taking claim on this.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Bulls Nation. We roll along talking about Bulls Bucks preseason. What's next on your mind, Will?
Well, let's address, I think, I appreciate the fans watching tonight. It's preseason.
Shout out Bulls fans.
It's a Monday night.
The diehards watching preseason.
But I think that there's some truth on what they're saying is that, Detroit and, as you pointed out, Charlotte have some good pieces.
Yeah.
What they haven't been able to do is stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So if they stay healthy, are they better than Bulls? Actually, I think they are.
Could be, yes.
But I'm just saying there's no guarantees. I mean, even when they're hurt, Boston, New York, Philly, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Orlando, Indy, and Miami are better than Chicago from a personnel standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay? Both Detroit and Charlotte have some good young pieces, but there's just something seems to always happen, right? And
people were talking about the Pistons making a big jump last season, and that certainly didn't happen. Injuries being a part of that, but people are again projecting the Pistons to make a big leap, and some aren't seeing it.
But I think that if we're going to be critical of management, I think we also need to be complimentary of management.
In what sense?
Well, I think that, Julian Phillips, we knew this was going to take time. But when I say time, you're like, we really can't judge this guy for probably 3 or 4 years. But I think he's really speeding up that process. I've been impressed in the 3 games of what I've seen.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it got to a point 20 games into last season when I was already fed up with the mediocrity hamster wheel of what we were all watching, that if Julian Phillips checked in the second half for 5 minutes, I was like, highlight of my week, because he was a rookie whose raw talent I believed in, but he couldn't get on the damn floor.
Yeah. Well, I loved your reaction tonight when you read that he was headed back to the locker room. You're like, no!
Dread. Absolute dread when I saw that. I mean, when I saw him, hit the court on that fall, when the play happened and he was shaken up and took a minute to get up off the court, I was panicking. And then I saw that he went to the locker room, more panic. And then I saw rib contusion, done for the night, spiraling out of control. But the first thing you said was, okay, could have been worse. If it is just a rib contusion, could be worse. By the way, also shout out, I saw somebody from that Phillips family hanging out in the chat earlier saying, talk to Julian's dad tonight. He's fine. So let's hope that that's the case.
Well, we'll find out on Wednesday.
We shall. But again, maybe it's what Billy did tonight with anyone who had even an inkling of an injury or a nagging injury or something, whether it be Io, Kobe, Jalen Smith. Like, he's at anyone who they don't do official injury reports for preseason games, but had they, all of those guys were probably probable on said injury report, and instead were not healthy scratches, but just scratches. Which is like, I see no problem with that, especially because what we're talking about, playing the kids, play the young guys. We saw, 33 minutes from Adama Sanogo tonight. That's fun. Off the bench, you saw 22 minutes from Matas, 22 minutes from EJ Liddell, who had not even sniffed the court in their first 2 preseason games. THT got 18 off the bench. Kenny Lofton Jr. played 15 minutes. Great. It's the preseason.
Let's talk about Sanogo for a second.
Okay, let's. Bulls fans love them some Sanogo, Will. What's your thoughts? Because I asked this guy right here, 4-time NBA champion center, by the way. Hey, Perdue, what do you think about Adama Sanogo? Because Bulls fans, lots of them last season, hanging out, watching our show, talking Bulls with us, were freaking out about the lack of Sanogo minutes. And I was like, I'm sorry, but a lack of Sanogo minutes is not what ails this team right now. So what's your read on him?
I love talking to the kid because he's just a sponge.
Yeah.
He really wants to get better. But I think what you have seen is that he's not flashy by any means, but he's crafty. He's really a smart player who learns on the go and figures out how to score.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is to me, right, is you saw the night he actually took 2 threes and made one of them.
Bonkers.
It's a very
Sanogo and Kenny Lofton hit threes tonight.
Yep. It's honest. I mean, it's a little awkward. I don't want to say he lacks athleticism. He's just not an athlete per se.
Yeah.
Okay. He actually, to me, is a basketball player. There's a lot of people in the league that are athletes that play the game of basketball.
Right.
That aren't necessarily basketball players, but they're still very good at it because of how athletic they are.
Some might throw the name Zach LaVine into that category.
But I think Sanogo has gotten to where he is because he's a basketball player, but I also think he's limited. I'm not saying he can't play on this team, but he qualifies as one of those guys that is – it's kind of like, if you want to talk about numbers, if he plays more than a certain number, his plus minus is this. If he plays less than a certain number, his plus minus is this. It's very specialized when he can and can't play.
Yeah.
And I think that, in the preseason, he can put up good numbers. But I just don't think that he's a guy. Now, he can continue to you know who he reminds me of?
Who's that?
And this guy's, a guy that's won championships, but it's just how he plays. Not necessarily who he is, but how he plays. Kevin McHale.
Oh, okay.
The up and under.
Not an athlete.
The up and under, the finger roll, just.
Basketball player.
Exactly.
Not athlete. Yeah.
I don't think again, don't get me wrong, he's not Kevin McHale. I'm just talking like how he approaches the game.
Right.
Like when I work with Mark Shanowski and do Windy City Bulls games, we'll watch a game.
Shout out.
And at the end of the game, he hadn't really done anything to jump out at you, but you notice he's got 16 and 10.
Yeah.
Now, that's in the G League.
Right.
I think in the regular season, he's going to be he's going to hurt you defensively, and that's one of the biggest weaknesses of this team.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. I don't think he can score enough offensively to make up for what he lacks on defense. Right?
Yeah.
So there's an equation that you have to put in there.
I mean, to me, Bulls fans could look at tonight's box score and be like, "Oh my gosh, double-double Sanogo, 16 and 15." He was not off the bench, doing 16 and 15 in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Like, he played 33 minutes tonight and gave him 16 and 15. He also, in most of the first quarter of that game, was having his lunch absolutely taken from him by Brook Lopez, an actual starting NBA center. Like, Bulls fans hate on Vooch for a lot of reasons, and one of them being like, hey, it's not your fault, but you're undersized because Vooch is what, 6'10", maybe 6'11", as a starting center.
Yep.
Sanogo's 6'9". And look, he has some strength and maybe some bully ball stuff in his game that Vooch does not have, but he's 6'9" and was trying to score over and stop from scoring Brook Lopez tonight. And anyone watching even kind of carefully saw how that went for Sanogo, because the answer was not well.
Well, Brook Lopez had 4 blocks. I think 3 of them might have been on Sanogo.
And again, like you can be a player of Sanogo's frame and size and be an impactful, positive player in the G League. I do not know if that role exists for a player at his size and position and his specific skill set with the weaknesses attached to his game, like a legitimately competitive NBA level.
It's to be determined. But the one thing is, I know the kid wants to learn. I actually saw him at the Bulls event on Thursday, and I told him, I said, listen, you don't necessarily have to play to have a successful financial career.
Shout out Cristiano Felicio.
Oh, God, don't go there.
Speaking of
my point is,
Bulls centers,
he even understood where I was going. I wasn't trying to be negative. I was just saying, listen, man, you could possibly play 12 years in the league and play for 12 different teams.
Yeah.
But where else are you going to make this kind of money? Even if you play for 12 different teams and at times only have partial guarantees.
Yeah.
And that's where, if you work your ass off and you're great in the locker room and a guy that just constantly is uplifting his teammates, but also stays healthy, and even though you don't play, you're available.
Yep.
You bounce around the league. You find a way to stick, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, whatever happened to Sanogo? Oh, look at that. He played 10 years, played for 8 different teams. He made $18 million, and, that was it.
Yeah.
But because of his work ethic and, his pedigree, champion.
Yeah.
That means a lot to coaches and scouts and, general managers. He can bounce around. There's a reason why the Bulls are keeping him here and attached to this team. I understand you got Jalen Smith, you got Vooch. There's really no place for him. But one of those 2 guys goes down. He's
tonight.
He's a good, 11th, 12th man.
I mean, it's a preseason game. They essentially, I think, just gave Zach and Vooch the nights off veteran rest. So that's why Vooch didn't play. Jalen Smith is dealing with a minor nagging injury preseason. Don't bother playing him because it's preseason. Why risk it? So, yes, Sanogo was called up into active duty tonight and played 33 minutes as a starter. And he did some solid things on the floor. I'm not trying to say I believe in nothing that Sanogo does. There are some things he clearly can do well. His role on this team, though, and it's interesting that you say, like, there's got to be a reason the Bulls are keeping him around. He's been around for what? This will be his 3rd year now?
Yep.
Bouncing between G League and occasionally getting called up. And that is why this roster battle I find fascinating, of guys who are on Exhibit 10s who were brought in for training camp and preseason roster. And then obviously Owner Al Patim, who's on that 15th spot, non-fully guaranteed contract that they still have a few days to make a decision on. Sanogo, at the point in time, is, I think, firmly planted in one of those 2-way spots, Will. And I think he's proved that he's worth that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Because
Yeah.
I know they love him with the Windy City Bulls, and they love having him there because of his attitude and his work ethic and just the positivity. I mean, he actually is thankful to be there.
Yeah. With that, let's take one more quick break. We'll come back, dive more into thoughts from tonight's game. Tonight's show brought to you by our friends at Coors Light. Between work, social media, stressing about Julian Phillips' rib contusions, and all kinds of things life throws our way, it's no wonder we can get a little worked up sometimes. I know I do. Coors Light celebrates rising above all of that stress and noise. Yeah. You ever notice that, Will? Rising above that noise and stress and choosing a chill mindset. Why not turn a rained out barbecue into the 1000th annual Will Perdue hosted karaoke party? House party. Katie, you down for that? Perdue hosting a karaoke party?
I'm so down for that.
Katie's in.
I have like 5 songs ready.
She's got them ready to go. I know Jake's in. You don't have a choice. You're hosting a karaoke party for us. Or settle the score after a tough loss with an ice cold peace
offering. As long as it's not at my
offering.
house, I'll host it.
Make the choice to choose chill, then reach for an icy cold Coors
How about
Light.
if I host at your place?
We could co-host at my place.
Okay.
That's fine. You'll draw a more fun crowd than I will.
Oh, man, come on.
When the mountains turn blue on those Coors Light cans and bottles, you know the beer inside is cold as the Colorado Rockies and ready to drink. It's cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. So when you embrace a chill mindset, that's a great time to choose chill and crack open a Coors Light. You can also get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/CHGO basketball. That's CoorsLight.com/CHGO basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
I tell you what, man, we've already been at this for 30 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Time flies when you're having fun. It really does.
I told you you'd come have fun with us.
Listen,
now we just got to get you drinking some beers and postgame, sell the product.
I will have beers when they win games.
I'm going to hold you to that. That is the opposite strategy that Big Dave and Saban and I used to do back at NBC back in the day. We had a 20-point deficit bottle of hooch hidden in one of those drawers in the green room.
Hooch, would you like to be more definitive?
Bottle of whiskey.
Okay.
We had a secret bottle of whiskey that we kept hidden in the NBC green room.
I didn't know if you were going Mad Dog 2020 or
hey, I'm not
Little Boone's Farm. I wasn't sure where you were going.
I got a little more class than that, Will. Come on now.
Hey man, sometimes you just got to go bang for the buck.
I agree. Tonight's show also brought to you by CHSN, Chicago Sports Network. In other words, the new home of the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox. CHSN will broadcast more than 300 live games per year across the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox, and features a full lineup of original Chicago-focused sports content. They are also Chicago-based, Chicago-built, and Chicago to the core. They're bringing it to every corner of Chicago across their 77 neighborhoods and beyond. At CHSN, Chicago comes first. Visit CHSN.com for more info on how to watch Bulls, Hawks, and Sox games all season long.
Just make sure you watch your pre and post here.
Yeah. Watch pregame here, then go watch the game at CHSN, and then come back here for postgame. This is the system. We're living that antenna life here at the office until hopefully another deal gets done.
Hey, I think is the GOAT coming on?
Do we have a GOAT yet? Is he not? Okay, so he's still busy doing media stuff. We should hear from him at some point in the near future.
We're hoping to, but okay.
Until we hear from the GOAT, what else do you want to touch on from tonight's game, Will? Or do you want to keep talking about how the Bulls are accidentally going to be a play-in team this year?
So I want to know how they're going to keep Jalen Horton-Tucker off this team.
Okay. He came in tonight, again, off the bench, 18 minutes, 15 points, 6 boards, doing a lot. Man, he loves taking shots. However,
yes,
I think it's fair.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
But what is this team going to struggle to do at times besides play defense, rebound, stop people? What is they going to – they're going to
get buckets.
Correct. And what can this guy do?
THT gets buckets. He's showing us in these preseason games that even though he looks like a 45-year-old vet who's been in the league since the years of Kobe, that he's actually a 23-year-old who's just got kind of an odd-looking frame, but he has figured out at this early stage of his career how to use his frame, his size, his muscle. He gets to the rim a lot. He scores buckets in creative ways. If you're looking at what Batum did in his first real minutes of preseason tonight, 29 minutes as a starter, 5 points, 5 boards, a couple of steals, 2 of 9 from the field, 1 of 6 from downtown. That's what he's supposed to be good at. And what THT has shown in 3 games, give me THT on this roster.
16, 8, and 15. Those are what he scored in the 3 games. But you know what also I like?
What's that?
Another area where the Bulls struggled getting to the free throw line. 5 of 7.
Yeah. Led the Bulls in free throw attempts tonight off the bench. At one point, Giannis had like 14 free throw attempts to the Bulls' collective 6. I think that was somewhere in the third quarter. My God.
Listen, is he going to play a lot? No. But you start guys that need rest.
Yeah.
You have some injury,
mm-hmm.
right? This guy could get some minutes and he's going to put some points up for you.
I mean.
Because at the end of the day, and this is the hard part for me, is I've tried to change my perspective on how I'm watching this team and evaluating this team this year.
Yeah.
Because this, to me, now is more about the future. Okay, you want to reshaping, I'll use rebuilding. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a synonym.
Yeah.
Okay. But at times, though, you still got to provide entertainment on the floor.
I agree. Give me modest posters.
But at the same time, this kid can score.
Yeah, he can.
Now, as Stacey said, he's like a human bowling ball.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, he comes rumbling down the lane, and
Came in
if he
like a
doesn't
wrecking ball.
score, he gets to the free throw line. Do we have any background music?
I came in like a wrecking ball. God, what a terrible song.
Hey, hold on a second.
Okay, finish that thought, and then we got to go.
This was one of these famous lines that one of my friends used to say when I was in college. Who sings that song?
Blah blah blah. Yeah, let's keep it that way.
No,
is that what you're gonna pull on me?
Yeah, they used to say that to me all the time. I'd be singing. They'd be, who sings that song? I'd be like, Miley Cyrus. Well, then go ahead and let her sing it.
Yeah. But we need to practice for our karaoke party, Will.
That's the whole thing. You don't practice. That's what makes it fun.
Okay. This is coming from a former Phil Jackson mentee. We don't. That's on the record. Will Perdue saying we don't need to practice.
No, I'm talking about if you come
specific
out
to karaoke
and you're good at karaoke, somebody's been spending a lot of time by themselves.
Fair enough. Hey, Katie, I believe I heard a jingle. Is it time to talk to the other Will?
The GOAT?
That's where he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Joining us on the Go Talk hotline, up there across enemy lines from Fiserv Forum, it's between two Wills. We got Will Gottlieb joining the other Will Perdue here. Goat, crazy game tonight. A lot of minutes for the young guys with Billy basically holding back his entire starting five, save Josh Giddey. All the minutes, all the young guys. What was your biggest takeaway tonight?
There's a lot of young players on this team that need a lot of work, I would say. I mean, look, they had Giddey out there, but other than that, like there weren't players. I mean, maybe you'll see some Julian Phillips, maybe you'll see some Dalen Terry. There weren't a lot of guys in there that you can point to as like regular rotation guys, right? It was Aya was out, Zach was out, Kobe, Mooch, Jalen Smith, Lonzo, Patrick Williams. So like the top 7 in the rotation weren't playing aside from Giddey. And I think this was a real opportunity for some of those guys to get some minutes to show to management and to the coaching staff why they deserve a chance to be on this team. There is still a little bit of a roster competition going on with 1 2-way spot available, and Under Tim's 15th roster spot right now is only partially guaranteed. They can get off of that. So they are checking out some talent and seeing what they've got. But a lot of, it was just not a very representative game of like how I think the Bulls will actually look, but some interesting talent out there for sure.
We talked a lot about Giddey in pregame, and then we saw Giddey knocking down some shots tonight. We saw Giddey kind of orchestrating this offense for large stretches of tonight's game. You had a chance to talk one-on-one with Giddey after this morning's shoot-around up in Milwaukee. And by the way, after postgame, y'all go check that out, allchgo.com. Great stuff. What was your takeaway from that conversation that you had with Josh earlier today, and then what did you make of his game specifically tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it was just really cool to talk to him as like a person. I think a lot of times when you're in these like big press conference situations as well, I'm sure you can attest, like it's a little bit weird to have like a bunch of microphones in your face and like to be able to say what you want to say, but also be honest and genuine and authentic, without being too guarded. And there's a lot to that. So I thought it was really cool of him to kind of open up a little bit and talk with me about just like everything that's gone out this summer and the way that his role changed last year, and how that really took a hit to his confidence and how he was able to get that back through playing with his Australian national team in the Olympics. And just like the social media backlash. I mean, we were part of it, like we talked about the Bulls should have been able to do a little bit better in the Caruso deal. And he's a 22-year-old kid, like he sees all this stuff. He's online just like the rest of us. And so it was cool to hear from him on that and get to know him as a person a little bit more. And I really appreciated that. So, I think he's a really introspective guy, really smart. I think he's going to be just like a good, like, I think that translates to basketball. Like he's aware, he's smart. He's got good basketball IQ. He's got good, he's a thoughtful guy. And so, I think that will translate to the court. As far as his game tonight, he shot it, I thought, pretty well. I think he's got confidence in his jump shot. As far as being willing to take the open ones, I think the question is more for him, like the off the dribble ones and being more of a scorer on the ball so that can open up some passing lanes and put the defense in a position where they need to slide over and help. And that can open some things up. So, there's still a lot to work on, but obviously he's going to be playing with guys that are a little bit more dynamic scoring the ball with Kobe and Zach next to him, and he's really excited about that too. So nice to see him be able to kind of command the show. And I think even just like those drives off the slot and finding the weak side corner, like those kind of passes, they're not like the most advanced, but they're more advanced than, you know, some of the younger players are able to make. Like, for example, Dalen and Julian, we talked about this the other night. Like, if they've got driving opportunities, they're not always seeing that, and that keeps the offense going. And so having him out there to speed up the game and to create good shots for other people, I think is really useful for some of these young guys, which is, I think, part of why he did play tonight, in addition to the fact that, you know, with the injury, he just has been working his way back. So I wanted to keep him out there and help some of the young guys tonight, and I think he did.
Did Billy say anything that caught your ear in the postgame?
We talked a little bit about Adama Sanogo. I don't want to tip my hand too much because I want to write a story about it, but I know a lot of people are really excited about Sanogo and like the numbers that he puts up, and obviously 15 and 15 tonight, like people are excited about that. And there's not like a really, you know, Jalen Smith's more of a stretch five. He's not really the kind of bruiser that I think a lot of fans are looking for. But to just hear Billy kind of explain and break down a little bit more of what he's looking for out of Adama in terms of being a scheme defender, in terms of like, you know, his ability to do things within the flow of the offense that are more than just like bruise and put a shoulder into people, because that's not always going to be available at the highest level, and kind of adapting and evolving his game from where he was so successful in college and obviously where he has been in some minutes that he's gotten with the NBA. So it was interesting to hear him talk about Adama. And I think, you know, the offense, like I said, you know, this is not really representative group of what they're going to be looking at, but what a different show that we got in terms of 3-pointers going up and not really getting the foul line as much. I'm sure you guys have talked all about it, but definitely, I think, kind of a different offensive game plan than what we're used to seeing with Billy Donovan-led team with DeMar DeRozan.
It's a nice change of pace. Did you by chance get to chat with Matas after tonight's game or hear anything from Billy on Matas's game? Obviously, the kid continues to ooze confidence from what we heard from him on draft night, summer league action, all the way through their first preseason games the last week. Then he gets inserted into the starting lineup for the second half because Julian Phillips goes down. And even before that happened, you had him throwing a poster down on Giannis. Then later in the game, he and Giannis have sort of like a physical altercation. Giannis fouls him hard and sends him flying out of bounds. Like, Matas does not seem to be afraid of anything, and he was not afraid of Giannis tonight, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I mean, I was tweeting about it all night. Like, he's just so fearless, and I think Billy loves that about him. I think that's like what you want in a young player who's obviously very talented and skilled, who's not going to be like, you know, tentative or get down on themselves if they make a bad play or miss a shot or something. Like, he's coming right back at you. And I love that fearlessness. I think it's something that, you know, is going to put him in a position to succeed, where he will not be afraid to make mistakes and then try to get better from them. And he's a really hard worker. He's constantly talking about how much time he's putting in, how much film he's watching. And so you bet on that kind of thing. But yeah, there were a couple of plays where he like sidestep 3 air ball, you know, and then like bad turnover. And then, you know, he'd like airball another 3, but then he'd come right back down and dunk on someone, or like, you know, beat someone on the break and put a floater in. And it's like, yeah, those tools, like, it's going to be up and down. He's obviously very raw, but those tools are there. And for you to even be like a 6'10" guy who can pull off a sidestep 3, like that's pretty impressive. So he's got to hone it. He's got to sharpen it. And I think he will. But yeah, after the game, he was just he's so like stoic. I feel like we need Big Dave to come to these post-game press conferences to open him up a little bit, because he's just like, yeah, Giannis is like obviously a great player, and like I know he's an MVP and all that, but like when we're out there, it's 0-0. Like I'm coming at him, and it's like he's just cutthroat, man. He's great.
I freaking love it. Any updates from Billy as far as what we can expect in these last 2 preseason games, health-wise, player availability-wise? What can you tell us about Julian Phillips with the rib contusion and the fact that a lot of guys with like kind of injuries were mostly just scratched from the lineup tonight?
Yeah, I think like Kobe, who had the groin, Patrick had the wrist, Jalen Smith had the knee. Those are the guys that I think they're obviously like giving rest to, but I think it's like a little bit more they're trying to like heal them up, as opposed to Zach and Booch, who were just kind of rest tonight. So I don't think any of these guys will be long-term. Obviously, Julian Phillips did leave with a rib contusion. I think it happened like right before halftime, and he got back up, but did not play in the second half. The x-rays came back negative on him, so hopefully that's not too big of a deal. But the big one is Lonzo Ball, who, there was some chatter about whether he might give it a go today. They wanted to let him play in 2 of the last 3. They shut him down this morning. They said he was not going to play, but they're aiming now for Wednesday night at the United Center. So that will be 1,006 days since his last game, which is insane to think about him coming back. But all signs point towards it at this point. So unless there are any other setbacks that happen in the next 48 hours, it seems like Lonzo Ball will be back on the court at the United Center.
Everybody knock on wood and cross your fingers. Lonzo might finally be happening. Goat, we appreciate the time. We appreciate the insights. But you got one more for him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on now. I mean, I know
Let him look at his notes for a second.
No, I basically want to back him into a corner.
Oh, God.
And we know how important these last couple games are for some of these guys. But right now, Bidham or Taylor and Horton Tucker?
Okay, I was just talking to Casey Johnson about this, and I think EJ Liddell, he is more of a
wild
power
card
forward. I mean, he's not putting up big numbers. I just don't think they need another scoring guard. Taylor Horton Tucker, obviously very talented. He can do some stuff with the ball in his hands. He's, I think it would not surprise me if he's the one that gets it. But if you're a team that needs size, length, shooting ability, and rim protection, the one guy that you brought in, Bidham, Kenneth Lofton, Taylor Horton Tucker, none of these guys can do all those things the way that EJ Liddell can. He was a high second-round pick a couple of years ago. We liked him in the draft. Tore his ACL, so he hasn't really had a chance to establish himself. And look, he may not pan out, but I think that's the kind of skill set that I'm the most interested at this point. Would totally understand if it's Taylor Horton Tucker, but I would, and maybe both. You do have a 2-way, so maybe you sign Liddell to the 2-way and you waive Bidham and bring in Taylor Horton Tucker as the 15th man. That could be another good option.
The Will sitting in the other Will's seat, try to back him into a corner, and Goat just wriggle right out of that corner with a wild card option C to an A-B question.
Well done.
Well done. Goat, nice to chat with you, buddy. Get home safe.
Wait, I got one too before I leave.
Oh, okay. All right.
First post-game show. How are you doing in there? You hanging in?
I'm doing all right, man. It's good to go. I'm a little disappointed.
It looks
Big
good on
Dave
you.
just kind of wandering around London like he doesn't have a job. He needs to get his ass back here and get in here.
I can't wait for you to berate Big Dave for that in front of me when he's back and doing a show with us. But yes, Big Dave was missed. But yeah, we have fun hanging out, sitting in the living room. Purdue getting a feel for it. We got Katie on the controls already tonight. Screw training.
Nice.
She's just producing for us. It's been a fun night, buddy. We look forward to getting you back. Drive home safe. No one trusts Wisconsin drivers. Bulls Nation, follow Will _Gottlieb. Read his stuff, including that one-on-one exclusive interview with Josh Giddey he posted earlier today, allchgo.com. That one, by the way, is for CHGO diehards only. Go. Have a good night, buddy. Appreciate you.
Appreciate your time, brother.
Will the Go Gottlieb. Wow. What do you make of the EJ Liddell answer, Purdue?
Man, he came out of left field.
It really did. I did see a tweet of his while we were playing that game tonight after Liddell, I think, had a stretch of minutes in the first half where he was like, I like some of these things that Liddell's doing.
Listen, I agree with what he had to say, but and that is, quite honestly, now that he brought that up, that is kind of what from a historical standpoint of what you've seen from this organization, the type of guy that they would extend this to give that individual an opportunity.
Yeah.
So he makes a valid point. I don't want to sit here and be like, oh my God, there's no way. I mean, just when we think this organization is going to zig, they zag.
Yep.
So, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I mean, I think what we thought was going to be a fairly easy roster construction, considering the guys that they brought into camp, it's not as easy as we thought it was going to be.
I think they have a couple of tricky decisions they have to make down the stretch here. Shout out to Flipside23 in the comments who said, so you're Liddelling me there's a chance. I love me a Dumb and Dumber reference always. Sneaking a Bulls player's last name into a classic Jim Carrey line. Mad respect. So obviously it was cool to hear some of those thoughts relayed from Matas by Goat from the postgame locker room tonight, talking about kind of going one-on-one with Giannis, sizing Giannis up a little bit, his first chance to take on one of the biggest and best players in the league, a two-time MVP, a champion. When you think about the young guys, Matas not in the how do the Bulls finish the back end of this roster construction question. He's here. He's a number 11 overall pick. Do you think, Perdue, that with what Matas can do in 5 preseason games, he can alter maybe what Billy Donovan had previously thought or built into his plans as far as this team's rotation out of the gate? Do you think he's earning more minutes in regular season games that are around the corner, October 23rd, season opener, based on what we've seen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I think there's more riding on P. Will than there is with
They aren't
Matas.
paying Matas. They didn't just sign Matas to $90 million. I mean, he's a lottery pick. His rookie contract's no small potatoes, but it's not 5 years, 90.
No. Listen, I think he's going to get his chance because we just know in this league with rest and injuries, he's going to get an opportunity to play.
Yeah.
But I don't think that he's done something where like, oh, we got to play this guy.
Right.
But I think what we now have seen, just in my opinion, you and I were talking about this during the game, Billy mentioned the possibility of Matas, going back and forth and playing with Windy City.
Absolute rejection. I veto this plan. This is a trash plan.
Oh, God, the hat throw.
Trash. I could not get a hat throw on your first pre and post, Will. Come on now. And the thought of Matas wasting away in the G League, I am not okay with that.
I didn't figure this out because I haven't been here enough, but I was like, why does he have all these hats stacked over here?
Yes, for that reason, exactly. Shout out, Katie had the hat throw ready to go.
So, but they all have to be Bulls hats.
You think so? What's wrong with this Bears hat right here?
Well, you can't throw a Bears hat.
Shout out C-Red UK. Those guys left us with some hats.
Currently, you can't throw a Bears hat because they're playing well.
That is a good point. But when I grab a hat because I'm angry and I need something to throw, it's just whatever's on top, buddy. It's whatever's on top.
I think we need to do it. I think, Katie, from this point forward, they need to all be Bulls hats.
We got Bears. We got Chicago Wolves Calder Cup champions 2022. We got a green retro White Sox hat. We got shout out Charlie the Bacon Guy. There's all kinds of hats in the hat bucket, Will. The only criteria that must be met is hat which is throwable.
See, we've got to come up with something.
Perfect hat right there.
We've got to come up with something like Letterman when he used to toss watermelons off the top of buildings.
Well, I thought Gallagher was the watermelon smasher.
No, he'd smashed them.
Yeah.
But remember,
Letterman chucked him off of buildings?
Letterman used to do, what happens when you throw something off the top of a building? Watermelon and, a toaster, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
We need to find a sponsor of somebody that wants something destroyed on behalf of their company.
Okay.
So that when it's time for you to throw a hat or do something destructive, it basically triggers a sponsor.
A hat throwing sponsor.
That
might be the most
throwing sponsor.
Absurd, unnecessary, ludicrous idea of a brought to you by is just an angry me ranting and throwing hats.
But it's just kind of like
But I don't hate the idea.
But it's kind of like the sound they make when Gottlieb is ready to come on the air.
Yeah.
Basically, Katie's got to be sitting there ready to go, and as soon as you throw a hat, it makes a sound.
Yes.
That toss brought to you by.
Yeah, some company's logo just explodes with the hat in that graphic. I like it. I think it has possibilities.
Just make sure I get a cut at that.
Oh, of course. Purdue's always getting a cut. Well, because you brought him up, we do have a little bit of time left. Patrick Williams, and he's a more priority than Matas Buzelis minutes right now. We were going to talk about this in pregame, and then we shifted because he got a DNP tonight. But, Patrick Williams' first 2 games, Mr. Perdue, in these preseason contests, 31 combined minutes between Cleveland and Memphis, 7 points on 3 of 15 from the field, 0 of 6 from downtown, 5 rebounds. Guess what? He also has 5 turnovers. That's the same number. 3 assists, 2 steals, 0 blocks. I mean, I don't like to do the whole like panic button or not panic button thing, but for Bulls fans who are skeptical about who Patrick Williams can be moving forward, no DeRozan, no excuses tour, trademark Big Dave. The first 2 preseason games were not encouraging, and then he doesn't play in Game 3. Your thoughts?
I agree with you. Look, let me just be clear, and I think we've talked about this in Media Day. I know for a fact, whether you want to agree with me or not, that there were other teams interested in Patrick Williams.
I heard from a variety of people that there were
not like
a
lot of people
teams.
like, who else was going to sign P. Will? Why did they sign him?
Yeah.
Because there were other teams interested. And because of the fact, it is what it is. This is how this league works, right? Because the Bulls are invested in him, he was too young to let him walk. That's just reality.
Yeah.
Okay? Whether you like it or not, that's just reality. That's how this league works. But that doesn't mean now that you can't hold him accountable for what goes forward. We can come up with injuries. We can talk about there's outs, right? And part of that is just he was not a good fit with DeRozan, period. It's not necessarily his fault, but that's just how this was constructed. He basically was affected by that. All right? That's a bigger picture type play.
Yeah.
But as Dave talked about now, he's no longer here. He has to find a way quickly to be productive and consistent. And there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Because now I know he's been injured and hasn't played a complete season yet, but he's been in the league long enough. He's played against guys long enough. He's had enough experience. He's still young, but now 2 and 2 has to start equaling 4.
Right.
Okay? And it's just plain and simple. Because if this Bulls team is going to continue to move in the right direction, a la baby steps, he's a big part of the equation. It's just the Bulls have made it so, and that's how it's going to go.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, that's just how it is.
And, chucking up bricks, continuing to not rebound the ball, and continuing to turn the ball over when he tries to turn himself into an offensive engine of some kind. We've seen Patrick do all these things through his first few years in the NBA. We've seen him do all these things in his first stretch of minutes across 2 preseason games. I think Bulls fans are worried and a little frustrated by that.
Well, we were hoping, because we've seen the videos of how well he plays in the summer in these pickup games, and we know he can shoot the 3 at 40% coming into this season, and he's struggled mightily. I think it's on one hand, he's financially set for the rest of his life. But on the other hand now, I think he's really understanding the pressure that comes with it.
Yeah.
And you can talk about it. You can mention it. You can think about it. But until it hits you, you really don't know how you're going to handle it. Because you can be like, yeah, that doesn't bother me. But it does. Because the minute you step on that floor, you're looking around going, all these people are looking at me. I got a new contract. And with that contract comes expectations. Right?
Big expectations.
And what does pressure do? Burst pipes. And as a rookie, on his rookie deal, he never really felt this type of pressure.
No, he had 3 all-star vets leading the way. People were wanting to see more from him because he was a number 4 pick.
And that's we're going to have to be careful about just, judging this guy after every single game. I think that quite honestly, when the season starts, it's got to, before you can really make a serious evaluation, it takes 20 games.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just that to me. And I'll give you an example. I know we're about to be done here, but I remember when I was starting for the Bulls.
Flex.
Right? And they traded for Luke Longley.
Yeah.
And then Phil Jackson pulled me in his office. He says, listen, we traded for him. We got to see what he's got to do. We're going to take you out of the lineup, and we're going to put him in for 20 games. And that's always because of that. That's where that number comes from for me.
Right.
If they feel like they got to have 20 games to evaluate.
That's the sample size.
That, to me, is the sample size. That's 25% of the season. Okay? That's what it is.
I'll give Pat 20 games, I suppose.
It doesn't
Let's
mean
hope
we
he stays
can't,
healthy.
we can't
Will he-
talk about
Will he
game
lose his
delay,
starting spot before those 20 games are up? Maybe.
But that's where you start to think about, I would love to be in practice right now and just see him and Matas going at it.
So would I.
Doesn't mean that Matas is going to slide into the starting rotation.
Right.
But when they do practice, I would love to see those two.
As would I. We are just about to wrap up, almost out of time. But a reminder, if you aren't already, I mentioned that GOAT's one-on-one exclusive interview with Josh Giddey is for the CHGO diehards only. AllCHGO.com right now. If you're a diehard, go read it. If you're not a diehard, there's your latest reason to sign up to become one. Perks on perks on perks, discounts on all of our fun events, and our awesome merch that is comfortable and reps your favorite Chicago teams. Shout out to True Fan Travel, because if you were cool, you went out to London this past week, with our CHGO Bears crew and your fellow Bears fans to watch the Bears stomp all over the Jags in foggy London town. Diehards got discounts on that event. They get discounts on all our events. We're going out to Arizona for Bears cards later this NFL season. You can get discounts on that. You can get discounts on every single CHGO Bears tailgate that we do for every Bears home game this season and all seasons in perpetuity until the sun explodes. Discounts on events, discounts on merch, plus that free shirt when you sign up. Pick any shirt you like. That's your free shirt. And, of course, the best of the best when it comes to our credentialed reporters here at CHGO, including our own Will Gottlieb. The stuff that they write, their inside access, a lot of that we save for our diehards only. Plus, of course, that diehards only Discord to hang out and chat with your fellow diehard sports fans here in Chicago. One channel for every team. None of the bots and random stuff that exists on Twitter now. Thanks, Elon. So there are all of your reasons to become a CHGO diehard. Why wait pennies a day for an annual membership? I told Jake earlier today we got to get Perdue here his diehard credentials so that you can read the awesome exclusive interview that Goat did with Josh Giddey earlier today. Unless you were already a diehard, and it won't hurt my feelings if you weren't.
So how did Gottlieb sidestep that?
How did sidestep what?
That question I asked?
I mean, you gave him an A and B question, and he said C. I like it, though. I like it.
No, I'll step up and say I was not a diehard.
That's okay.
But I think I'm a fan. There's no doubt about it.
We do know that. We appreciate it because you never said no anytime we asked you to come by.
Because I tell everybody that same story, When you guys first came on at Chicago Sports Network, I was like, who are these yahoos? And then I got to know you guys hanging out in the green room. And I was like, these guys aren't half bad. They're not half good, but they're not half bad.
Not half good, not half bad. That's my sweet spot, Will. That's what I'm striving for in my career.
But, okay, let's finish the show on this.
Okay, let's finish. Bring it home, baby.
It's an awkward question, but I think that our viewers are going to come to expect this every single time we do a show. I got to throw a dig at you at some point.
Oh, Jesus. Where are we going?
Is Redacted still in the picture?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Yes. Still in the picture.
So
it's very, very, very happy, very excited that we were going to have Uncle Will do his first pre and post game with us tonight.
So basically, you can say, how do you refer to this? Is that hypnotism works? Is that how do you say that? That's not really is it? I want to say a hypnotist or
I'm no hypnotist.
You sure about that?
Yeah, I'm sure about that.
I mean,
Are you a hypnotist?
No.
Sending your wife off to Vegas to have some alone time?
I just outkicked my coverage.
Yeah. Well, I could attest to that. That is true. I'm out of your league. She's lovely. So are you.
I mean, she makes cookies for you.
Which fantastic. Yeah. When's our next team dinner? Let's get on that real soon. Bulls Nation, we thank you for hanging out with us late on a Monday night following Bulls Bucks preseason action. We will be back tomorrow. When I say we, I mean me, the GOAT, our crew here. Maybe Big Dave if his flight gets it on time.
You know what that is.
What's that?
That Dave's not here for the show tonight?
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
That is bullshit. You tell him. You tell him, Mr. Perdue. You tell Big Dave, 4-time NBA champion Will Perdue, that his absence tonight was not satisfactory. It was not okay. That you were hurt by it. I'm not the only one hurt by the fact that Big Dave's not here right now. That's just me being a drama queen because I miss him. I miss him every day that he's not here. But
I mean, I'm questioning whether he's invested.
I hope you're watching this, Big Dave. I hope you are somewhere over the Atlantic using airplane Wi-Fi, tuning into Bulls postgame at whatever time it is in the middle of the Atlantic, and hearing these words from our new teammate, Will Perdue.
I mean, isn't he sending the message that he just picked the Bears over the Bulls?
He picked the Bears in London over the Bulls preseason. Like some of those context clues do matter.
No, not really.
But I love where your head's at. Because my head's in the exact same place. I have had FOMO every time I've seen a picture of Dave off in London for the past week. I'm a little salty. And by that, I mean I'm a lot salty.
I'm on your side. But I will close it by saying this, since Gottlieb's not here.
Yeah.
You mentioned team dinner.
Yeah.
We'll have another team dinner when Gottlieb gets another pass.
I like that. There it is. Until that team dinner happens, read GOAT stuff, allchgo.com. Follow him, Will_Gottlieb. Follow this Will_Perdue32 on the Twitter machine. I'm Bulls_Peck. We are CHGO_Bulls. Back tomorrow, 5:30 Central Time with a live episode here in studio. Shout out and thanks to our pal, producer on the controls, the fearless, unmatched Katie Duffy. First pre and post in the books. Shout out to our guy Jake and Law and everybody else here helping us out today.
You know what this is?
What's that?
She was? That's coming off the bench prepared.
There you go. Adama Sanogo ain't got nothing on Katie Duffy. No, don't like that guy. Matas Buzelis, the Matas Buzelis of producers. Have a great night, Bulls Nation. We will talk to you tomorrow. See you, Red. Be good.
Y'all silly like the mayor.
That was fun.